Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Liucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men. We will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Been in college baseball for a while now, but I've never experienced anything like 12th man.
The other schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
this one's special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
The epitome of what this team has done, right? Gavin homers, Jace homers, Braden homers, Chris Cortez, 100-mile-an-hour fastball.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Another improbable win for Aggie baseball. I was about to say football. Goodness gracious. Welcome into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio of my nephew's house in Orlando, Florida, as we just finished a soccer tournament, but it's all about baseball here. Let's go straight to the studio where Olin Buchanan, our Heisman Trophy voter and, of course, columnist extraordinaire, joins us. OB, I do want to ask the audience where last night ranks in Aggie sports moments, because I think it's going to be up high there, and I'll certainly get to that with you here in a moment. But just overall, what an evening, because this team has shown time and time again and we all do this a little bit. I don't know if you did it last night, but there's moments where we're like, well, maybe it's not tonight. Maybe tonight's not their night. They find a way to win the games that are not supposed to be their night. A night where, well, it's just going to be a bullpen day. We'll fight to win tomorrow, right? That's not what they do. They seize the moment. I called it last night, probably more miraculous than the Georgia game, where they were down 9-0 early on and came back to win 19-9 because of the circumstances. The day before, losing Braden Montgomery, Shane Sadeo, that one, 2 games in a row where your starting pitcher doesn't even get past the second inning. All those storylines, yet they found a way when it matters. The magic of Olsen is real, OB.
Well, it was really exciting and very tense. They showed a lot of tenacity, a lot of perseverance, general badassery, just to hang in there. I thought Schlossnagle just was amazing at how he orchestrated his pitching staff after Sadeo had to leave with an injury, and just, hey, you got to come in and get me an inning or two here, and you walk 2 guys, you're out, and just juggling it so well to keep them in striking distance, and then to just get a little closer and a little closer, and then that explosion in which they showed so much discipline at the plate to take advantage of a player who an opposing pitcher who had obviously tired and had was struggling, and then B, a opposing coach that allowed him to stay out there and struggle like that. And then, of course, Caden Kent with the big shot that was, the knockout punch. So it was a great night, but I'd be lying if I said that when they were down 8-4, if I wasn't looking to say, okay, now how many pitches did Prager throw last night, and how many, could he come back and start, tomorrow, and things like that. So glad it didn't come to that.
Yeah, and, to be very honest with you, there was a point I'm like, all right, so Prager could potentially come back. Evan Oschenbeck only threw 22 pitches on Saturday, so I'm like, maybe he won't come back on Sunday, but if we need him on Monday, he'll be available. No. When you're trying to win a series and you have the lead, you bring in Evan Oschenbeck, and he slammed the door shut yesterday.
He really did. Well, after they had that big inning, and then I went up to the concourse to cool off. When I came back to my seat, I saw he was in there, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this one's in the book, What you had at that point, a 6-run lead, and I didn't expect him to be at his best. When I came in there and saw his pitching, I didn't expect him to be at his best, but I knew he's at his best. He's more than good enough to protect a 6-run lead, and he was close to his best.
Well, I think we all, at some point in our life, have or will experience a moment where there's, tragedy is not the right word, but heartache, if you will, right? And how that can take an emotional toll in the workforce and certainly in the sports arena, right? And to consider visually what Braden Montgomery's injury looked like for all of us. Imagine being his teammate, his dear friend, and having to deal with that. And also at the same time, your starting pitcher who's been your ace all season long gets chased out of that game so quickly. And then you have similar events where you have your pitcher go out early. How many home runs in the first inning? Was it 3? Am I remembering
three
that?
in a row.
Three.
Back to back.
To weather that, and this is what this team does, right? This is why I don't care. Look, is it much harder to win a College World Series without Braden Montgomery and Shane Sadeo? Absolutely. 1,000% is going to be more difficult. But don't count this team out ever. They don't count themselves out. They're very patient, and that's something you saw from them. You've seen it all year long, but Obi, I'm watching them these last couple nights, and I'm like, they're just cool, calm, collect. This is what they do. They know they can strike.
Yeah, they can. They definitely have the ability, and we've seen it all year, for them to score in bunches, and thankfully they did. It's going to be tougher in Omaha. It's a bigger park. And again, in theory, you're going to be playing, better pitchers. But all that said, I thought Caden Kent came in and was, whenever he plays, I think he's just a productive guy. And Hayden Schott, who might have been slumping a little bit a couple of weeks ago, is now, red hot. So, Jackson Apel, just such a good hitter, So,
yeah.
I think what's really impressive about that lineup, and we saw it again, is that, yeah, they have their stars, and you lost your biggest star of all, but you have guys that can just produce up and down the lineup, and man, they sure did.
Well, and also be careful, not necessarily Aggies, all fans in general, sending a tweet out too early. Aggie's gonna Aggie, right? Like, just be careful, and don't erase that when it happens.
Well, those Aggies, they just Aggie. They went do what Aggies do, come back and won in dramatic fashion.
And by the way, isn't that why we love sports? One of the reasons that we love sports is competition. Like, there's no way to, I don't want to say it's never over till it's over, Yogi Berra style, but legit, like, you could be up against all these odds and find a way. If this team gets hot, right? Because I wouldn't say they're hot. I think what they are right now, and tell me if you agree, is they're finding ways to win. Mm-hmm. Let's borrow it from a football perspective. A&M football the last couple of years found a way to lose, right? This baseball team has been in some tight games. Of course, they have their blowouts. They find ways to win. And to me, that is the mark of a championship caliber team. Does that mean they're going to win it all? No. Does that mean they have a fighting chance? Absolutely. And there might be 5 SEC teams when it's all said and done here. We'll see what happens later on today. But that's the thing that we love about sports. It's never over.
Yeah, again, I would be lying if I wasn't thinking, okay, who can they throw tomorrow, Monday, because it doesn't look like it's going well. But I would not have been the guy who gets on the message board and just say, oh, it's over, this is that. How many times does this team, and I'm speaking to some of our people on our message boards, how many times does this team have to just roar back to convince you, no, they're not always going to have to be able to come from behind and win, and hopefully they don't get in that position ever again. But I watched Georgia score 9 runs in the top of the first and get run ruled.
Yep.
How many times do you have to see stuff like that before you stop jumping out of the window in the 3rd or 4th inning?
And I want to be clear. I don't want it to sound like I'm saying that A&M is this underdog story. They're not an underdog story. They are a favorite to win the College World Series.
Well, they're becoming an underdog story with the volume of injuries now.
100%. I mean, you losing a top 5 pick in the Major League Baseball draft. You lose one of your most reliable pitchers in game 2, and we still don't have word on how severe it is, but it didn't look good. So when we get the final word on that, we can kind of figure out the next step. But you have to, in your mind, think, all right, how do they do it with what they have? Well, what they have is a guy. Look, we are 10 minutes into the show. We have not mentioned Chris Cortez, who was masterful on Saturday night. Masterful, because last night was such a magical moment, OB.
Cortez was, what you need to do is you need to get a thesaurus and find brilliant, and then just list every word that comes, every other definition, because they all applied to Chris Cortez in that game. Cortez, the conqueror. Somebody called him the conquistador, but I was saying, well, he's more of a conqueror in that game. But, he was amazing. I mean, just amazing. And I wonder, does he – probably not, but do they start saying, okay, we just start him in a game now? But, man, what Max Weiner just has done with that guy is worth whatever they're paying him.
Well, let's give some props to this entire coaching staff. It starts with Schloss. 100%, right?
Oh, yeah.
He is the mastermind behind it all. But then he has empowered his assistants to do what they do. Max Weiner comes in, and it shows, I think, patience from a coaching staff, but also from a player, from a pitcher in Chris Cortez's story, that just give it time, do the good work, and it's going to pay you back, right? Chris Cortez is an example of that. Michael Early. This team has been offensively fantastic since he arrived, right? There are different people in positions of power with this team, positions of leadership, that have gone above and beyond what we seem to expect. And when the offense is struggling, the pitching staff has their back. When the pitching staff is a little shaky, the offense erupts. Yeah,
I wouldn't have seen the games this week playing out. I couldn't have foreseen that. I thought, if anything, you would see because of the offensive numbers that Oregon has put up or had not put up, I would not have seen Prager and then, A&M yesterday giving up home runs like they did. And then the way the offense, the way Oregon's pitching staff has been throwing, what were you going to expect A&M to score 25 runs in 2 games? But like you said, that's why we love it.
OB, let's play quickly. This game is called What If, all right? What if you were on a road trip for a kids' sporting event, let's just say, and you didn't have access to the internet, okay? Mm-hmm. And then you get to work on Monday morning, and I tell you, OB, Ryan Prager didn't last very long. Mm-hmm. Shane Sadeo didn't last very long. In fact, he might be done for a while. And also, looks like Braden Montgomery is done for the year. He had a horrific injury. And the Aggies gave up 3 home runs back to back to start game 2 off. You would think they're eliminated, they're split. What would you think? Like, if that's the only information I gave you to go off?
Yeah, I would have thought at the very best case scenario that you were able to force a third game, but you're probably done and saying, hey, you know what? It was a good year. We had some bad breaks. You lose your best player. You lose your second best starting pitcher. The defense wasn't that good either. You start looking at all the things. Of course, hey, at least it was disappointing, but hey, it was a good year. That's what you're thinking. You're not saying, hey, we're going to Omaha.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, in a few minutes, I do want to go through that 7th inning. That to me is going to be, that inning is AC Law-esque in Aggie history. We'll talk about that in a moment. But I don't know if emotional is the right word, because I wasn't emotional. But seeing Braden Montgomery's face when they brought him out on the field and seeing how happy he was, and it was special. It was a special moment.
Well, what I was struck with, I was sitting 2 rows behind and maybe 5 seats to the right of Jeff Kent, and who never shows any emotion.
Yeah.
He's so stoic. And you saw that Caden hit that grand slam, and you know what? He smiled. Which is his version of a Mardi Gras celebration, I guess. And then he eventually had to, acknowledge people coming over to give him high fives. And now his wife was like, now she was having her own personal Mardi Gras celebration. And if I was Jeff, I probably would have had to been taken out of out of the stadium for doing something so crazy, I would have been celebrating so much. But that was pretty cool. What, can you imagine being a dad in that situation?
I can't imagine
and see your kid do it like that?
Hey, I don't know this. I've talked to Jeff a couple times in my life. I don't know him well, but I would assume watching his son do that is probably more impactful than what he did with the Giants and the Astros and the home run, because it is his son, right? To see that, I can only imagine watching my kids hit a game-winning PK or whatever. I mean, for that moment for Kent was just as a dad.
Yeah.
I felt it, and I didn't even see Jeff. I just can hear it in your voice.
I guarantee if you said, "Hey, Jeff, if you get that interview with him, can you name your top 5 moments of sports, that you're involved in that meant to you?" He's going to say, that watching my son hit that grand slam is going to be real high on the list. Might be number 1.
By the way, I don't want to say, and we'll get more into it in a moment, I don't want to say I was shocked by it, because at that point, after all those walks, and I don't want to say I expected it, but I wouldn't be surprised. That was kind of how I was feeling about it.
Well, he was hitting the ball hard every time he got up. One time he flied out to the wall, and then one time he hit the ball hard to the right side to ground it out, but got a run in. He's just a productive player, man.
Yep.
It's a productive player. We're watching the video of it right now. There was no doubt about it. He comes off the bat. You say, okay, it's 4.
Well, let's do this. Let's ask the people the question. Where does last night rank in your Aggie history of Aggie sports moments, I should say? 979-693-1150. You can call. You can text the show. 979-693-1150. This is Coffee Talk presented by TexAgs Coffee. Beat the hell out of mornings by going to texags.com/coffee. Let's give away a coffee as well. So let's do Texer number 9. What does that think? What do you think about that, OB?
Well, was it a 9-run inning? A 9-run 7th inning, so 9 works for me.
Texter number 9. Text in the word coffee. We'll get you a free batch of TexAgs coffee. Again, this is TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. We go around the room. We say hello to the people. We say hi to Nick Savage, who's behind the glass. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
What's up?
Well, I've been to a lot of, A&M sporting events in my 25 years here on the planet. I've been to the 7 overtime game at Kyle Field. A lot of Aggie football games come to mind, but I mean, if you would have closed your eyes during that 7th inning, you would have thought you were at Kyle Field. It was such a crazy, cool environment, and it just what a way to cap it off. 2 hits in a 9-run inning, both coming from Caden Kent, and scoring 4 runs on 1 swing of the bat was just a perfect cherry on top of that crazy inning. But like you said, David, I agree with your tweet, man. The win last night, I think, is more impressive than that comeback against Georgia, considering all the circumstances surrounding it. So just a super impressive win, and hey, they're going to Omaha, so couldn't be happier.
Yep, no doubt about that. Let's do this. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. I'm actually not sure who's working there. Is that Mac Attack?
No.
Is it Callie Garner?
Yes.
Sure is.
Okay, I don't see it. I'm sorry. So I saw that you were working on the rundown. Callie, how are you? Good morning.
I am great. How are y'all? Good morning.
Oh my goodness, you were partying last night, weren't you?
No, I was at a wedding this weekend and then a super regional game, and so just the voice is not where it normally is, but that's okay.
Callie, so I know you're a super Aggie sports fan. So Where were you? Take me through it. Let me know your yesterday.
Oh my goodness. I was so excited. I mean, I was at the wedding Saturday, like I said, and I was watching the early moments of the game, and I was not looking forward to the rest of it, not being able to watch it and keep up with it. And then we ended up coming back and winning. And then yesterday I was like, you know what, like we might have to play game 3. It's going to be okay. But I was telling OB before the show started, I never got too worked up and too nervous. I mean, we were down 7-2. Like, I was not concerned. I kept, there's a lot of baseball left. And then that 7th inning, once that ball 5 chance starts hitting, it's electric, and there's not another atmosphere like it in college baseball. And just once we hit that grand slam, I mean, we never looked back, and we just ran away with it. So it was awesome to be there.
I do want to say this. I want people to, well, you should feel comfortable fanning the way you fan. I know that's not a real statement, but like if you are the kind of doom and gloom person, but you don't give up on your team, right? Like I don't know if we're gonna, that's okay. Like that's why it's an emotional roller coaster. If you're that person who's like, no matter what, you think we're gonna come back, that's all fine too. However, people fan is the way to fan. Just don't turn your back on your team, right? And think that anything is possible. But I understand though that emotional roller coaster. What other news do you have for us, Callie?
Yeah, we're talking about all the Aggie baseball, and we had a men's track national title. They won the 4x400 relay, and they placed 5th in the team standings at the NCAA championships, and the women team finished 10th. And I'm not sure if y'all have seen the video of that 4x400 relay, but it's really awesome to watch. They were down and they just came out of nowhere, and it was awesome. I was locked in for all 3 minutes of it. So I'm really proud of our guys and our gals at the NCAA Outdoor National Championships.
All right, great stuff, Callie. Thank you very much. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, what we'll do is we'll relive that 7th inning, such a impactful inning, obviously, in Aggie history. We'll talk about where it ranks for you in Aggie sports history. But right now, we're hitting a break. Let's talk about the Association of Former Students. If you're looking for a reason to come back to Aggieland, like I'm in Florida, and I like Florida, but I want to get back to Aggieland because that's my community, that's my people, and it's also the best place to live. And if you're looking for a job, the Association of Former Students is looking to hire some great professionals out there. They're seeking to hire professionals in several different departments: fundraising, former student programs, marketing. They're the nation's premier alumni association and the oldest organization serving A&M in support of that Aggie network. They play a part in every Aggie story, from Howdy to here. Don't miss out opportunities to help out with Howdy Socials, Aggie Ring Day, class reunions, Aggie Muster, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies those Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service, all in support of that worldwide Aggie network. If you're interested in joining the team or sharing with someone who would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/association jobs to apply and get more information on each position. It is the Association of Former Students. All right, welcome back into the Lawnmower Experience here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. I'm in Orlando, Florida for a day or two before I head back to Texas. We're talking about the miraculous victory yesterday. A&M is going to their second College World Series in the last 3 years. 8th time to make it. 2 of those, obviously, with Jim Schlossnagle here. Let's go back to the Rollo Insurance Studio in College Station with Olin Buchanan. OB, so where does this one rank for you in Aggie sports moments that you've been to, that you've watched on TV, that you've actually experienced?
Okay. I think, first of all, definitely top 10, definitely. I don't know that I'd put it ahead of beating Texas in the College World Series. I don't know if I'd put it ahead of watching the basketball team blow out North Carolina in the Sweet 16. And then, Nick mentioned the 7 overtime game against LSU. I've seen them beat Alabama in football twice. I'm a football guy. I can't think of among the Tyler Davis hitting the putback shot to beat Kentucky and share the SEC championship's really big. So, but it's all in that kind of neighborhood, So, for me, I might have to put some of those other moments ahead. But, when you're at the College World Series and you're in an elimination game and you're playing your arch rival and they have the lead and the quote baseball version of the Heisman Trophy winner, and you knock them out, and send them home from Omaha. That's pretty memorable too. So, probably about 5th or 6th on my list. But if somebody else has it higher than that, I don't have an argument.
I'll answer where mine is here in a moment. Since it's getting loud, I'm going to have to find a new studio inside at some point. Let's go to the hotline because Matt wants to talk about where it ranks. Matt, welcome to TexAgs Radio.
Morning. I'd say this is probably definitely top 5 or 6. I mean, nothing's going to meet the sound that was in Kyle Field when we knew we had the fumble recovery in '99, and that still chokes me up. But even I think Ryan's hit on Senior Day kind of ranks ahead of it. Beating Texas in the World Series is a good one. The '85 Texas game, that entire game, but this one is right up there with those, like easily. I was watching this thing at work last night, and everybody else at the station was wondering what I was jumping up and down hollering at. Because they thought maybe I missed a call, was yelling at them to get out on the engine, but it was definitely top 5 or 6, man. That was just something, because we were dead in the water. And when he hit that, it was like, this game is done. That was it. So that's pretty much all I got.
Matt, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. All right, let's hit a break here. I'm going to try to relocate, and we'll come back with more. The number is 979-693-1150. You're listening to the TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, relocating here on TexAgs Radio. Apologize for that. We are talking about the baseball game. We're going to relive the 7th inning on OB. Let's get into it here on the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. OB, that inning, I felt bad for the pitcher. I felt better for us. I was curious what the manager was thinking, and I was like, more of this, please. Just keep making these mistakes, these blunders. But it was one of those innings that you're like, are they going to walk another one? Are they going to walk another one? And they did. And then they hit a batter, and then it started spiraling out of control.
Yeah. First of all, there's a time and a place for compassion. 7th inning was not it. So I didn't feel bad at all. I was celebrating the fact that the kid was struggling and that his coach left him out there to dangle in the wind like that. Secondly, I'm always, even though I'm not covering a game, I sometimes think how I would cover it. I remember thinking, I'd be writing something along the lines of, hey, you can take flights or you can drive to Omaha, or A&M, you can just walk there, because, how often do you see that? What was it in that inning? Something like 6 walks and a hit batter in that inning, and then 2 walks with the bases loaded, and then I think it's a hit batter, and then 2 more walks, and then the grand slam. So it was, I can only imagine what it must have been like to have been an Oregon fan watching that. And just, but to me, it was glorious, because first I'm thinking, hey, the Aggies are back into this. Hey, they're only 2 down. Wait, only 1 down. It's tied. Okay, everything else is gravy. Well, here's some gravy. You're up 1. Oh, and then I'm drowning in the gravy because Caden Kent got the home run. So a glorious 7th inning. You know what? We should have known it was coming, because just before the inning started, Gabe Bach, who's former TexAgs radio host, who's sitting on the front row, turned his hat around. So I'm sure that's what got it all started.
All right, so let's kind of go through it here in parts, because 2 hits only in that inning, right? 2 hits, 9 runs. So Jace Lavalette walks, and that allows Ali Camarillo to score, and that's what got them going, right? That's what they started going, because they were walking everybody, right?
Mm-hmm, right.
So then you have Hayden Schott walks, and then you have Caden Kent scoring. Jackson Appel to third. Then you have Teddy Burton hit by a pitch. Okay. And then you have another walk. Caden Sorrell walked. And then you have Ali Camarillo walk. And then you have the grand slam. I mean, as things are happening in parts, you're like, this cannot continue. This cannot continue. And it continued to spiral that way.
Because Chestnut then walked after the home run.
Yeah. Well, and for those who think A&M has all this misfortune, right, that they continue to have this misfortune, stop for a moment and look at the good fortune A&M had yesterday. And again, there is a magic to Olsen Field. There is something special about being there, and anything A&M related. But yesterday, Olsen Field, and I wasn't there. You were there, OB. You felt it. You could feel it on the television. There was an electricity. And when that 7th inning started, that magic of Olsen, you felt it. You felt it on screen. You felt it in person. The player sees that moment from that Olsen Field magic. Yeah, well, I think Camarillo led off with a walk, so you're thinking, okay, hey, you got the leadoff guy on. Let's make something happen. And then Kent with a single, and you're still thinking, okay, we got it out. But then there's another walk, and you're thinking, hey, the bases are loaded. Just where's that one big hit that's going to get you back in it? Well, it didn't come for a while, but those guys showed so much discipline at the plate. I mean, the kid was struggling, but how easy would it have been, with all the things that had gone against A&M in that game, some defensive issues, some, the injuries, all the things that had gone against them. And what if you had guys that were, too aggressive and swinging at pitches out of the strike zone, which could have happened, but it didn't. They showed remarkable discipline to just let the game come to them. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. Let me get to a couple of these text messages. I'm going to allow Callie to read them, but I want to read this one from David in Temple, because I think it just is perfect OB and perfect situation. It says, 7th inning was not a time for compassion. Olin with the rim shot out there. I have no compassion for almost anyone on the west side of Oregon. David in Temple. I kind of agree. But hey, in an athletic game,
like I said, there's a time and a place for compassion. It's never that when I'm trying to win.
No, I mean,
Step
nobody
on the
has
throat.
compassion for. Look, I think hopefully people have empathy and a heart for injuries, right?
Oh,
but
yeah.
we're talking about the competition, right? The competition of the game. And you seize moments, and sports history is there's a winner and a loser, and there are mistakes. And yesterday, I think a combination of things happened. Yesterday encapsulates what Michael Early has been preaching to this team. Take pitches. Make them give you a pitch that you want to hit. Make them give you strikes. And when they give you strikes, we strike.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what Caden Kent did.
Yeah, to your point earlier, though, when you said, you kind of felt bad. Look, if I was sitting there, she wasn't there, but if I was sitting there next to my wife, I guarantee you Irma would be saying like, oh, I feel so bad for his mom. And look at him, he's struggling. And she would have empathy and compassion. But, hey, you're out there competing. I don't care. Now, later, when it's over with, you say, man, that coach should have cut his player a break and got him out of there and, at least try with somebody else. But in the moment, I'm saying, yeah, keep him in there. He's struggling. I want him to continue to struggle because I want to win. And I don't care how it comes, and I don't care whose feelings get hurt.
100%. 100%. If you want to be a part of the conversation, 979-693-1150, 979-693-1150. Let's go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant. Callie Garner's got a bunch of text messages coming in. People are reacting. By the way, shout out to my friends there on YouTube. Thanks so much for bringing it here on the stream. Like, comment, subscribe. Become a subscriber. It really helps us. Hello to our folks there at TexAgs.com watching on the chat there, the CW, and, of course, AM 1150, The Zone there at Bryan Broadcasting. Callie, get us some text messages.
Yeah, so Chase in Houston says, last night easily could be a top 5 to 10 win in Aggie sports history because it sent you to the College World Series. The Oregon coach is the real MVP for being a huge dummy and not having his bullpen ready. This team will now go as far as their starting pitching will take them, but offensively they are going to be as good as anyone in Omaha.
Yeah, I mean, and that's without one of your best offensive players. So that just tells you how they OB, I could just tell you a name on the lineup, and you'll be like, yeah, you trust him. Teddy Burton, I trust him. Hayden Schott, I trust him. Even when he has a rough outing in the regional, he finds a way to deliver at the end of the regional, and obviously yesterday. Caden Kent hadn't played a lot. When he gets his opportunities, he seizes his moment, right? Like, we can go Ali Camarillo. We can go down the list and people that we trust in that starting lineup.
It is a powerful lineup, and you take, again, look, you take your best guy out, and you're not better without Braden Montgomery. You're not, but you're still good enough. And when a guy like Caden Kent, when you substitute Caden for Braden, you have the rhyme and the reason to still feel pretty good about it because, hey, he's a good bat too. So are you as good without Braden? Of course not. But are you still good enough? Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I want to hear from Schloss from yesterday because, and look, it was an emotional weekend. It's emotional for many reasons. Anytime you get to the College World Series, that's emotional. Losing your best player, one of your best players, is an emotional feeling. Just the ups and downs of the weekend. Let's hear from Schloss yesterday after the game as he was soaking in the moment.
12th man was amazing. Obviously super proud of our players for all of the adversity we've been dealt with in the last 48 hours between, well, actually the whole week, between Hayden getting banged up a little bit, Braden going down, Shane, whatever happened to Shane today. Guys just kept playing. 12th man played a huge role in that. Definitely want to congratulate Oregon on a great season. Unbelievable opponent to play. Incredibly well coached. Coach Waz is a very, very dear friend, and his team was more than prepared to do this. So congratulations to them on a great season. And couldn't be any more proud of these two guys. And just honored to be here and honored to get back to the pearly gates, college baseball in Omaha, Nebraska.
The pearly gates, that is. And we're obviously sending a TexAgs crew. Billy will be out there. Richard Zane, Ryan Brauninger will be out there. So we'll have wall-to-wall coverage from Omaha that I'll have to ask Richard when that will start, but we'll obviously be doing it all week long here on TexAgs Radio. One of the things that I found funny was the amount of people, and I heard from people on my personal text and also on Twitter, surprised that I was awake for that game because it was after 9 o'clock at night. There was no way I was going to miss a second of that game, OB. Games that matter, I'm there, buddy.
Yeah, even when they were down 8-4, I wasn't going to give up. I have to admit, I was concerned. But, you still I'm going to stay for this whole thing. Now, I'll say this. As soon as the game was over, I was out. I'm thinking, I got to walk back to TexAgs, get my truck, head on home, take a shower, go to bed. I got to be up early. But and then I was too pumped up to fall asleep. I'm sure a lot of people were after witnessing that. Hey, I don't mean to belabor the point, but let's say it again. We're just watching Schlossnagle, and let's just, look at the way the two coaches handled their pitching staff in that situation. One failed miserably. Yep. But and here's again, we talked about it. Just think about what a great job Schlossnagle did after he loses his start. Look, I'm going to bring you in and just plugging and placing and just pulling the right strings and making the right decisions to stay in the game. And then, you watch your team fight back, and hey, what do you know? You can go to Ossenbeck to finish it off. Just awesome. I think it can't be overstated how well in a tough situation that Schlossnagle was able to manipulate's not the word I want to look for, but just orchestrate his pitching staff to stay in the game and then to close it out.
He pushed the right buttons.
Absolutely.
1,000%. He pushed the right buttons.
All right. Baseball coach, man.
All right. Yes, he is. Here's one from Philip. Kent is the future. Simple swing, repeatable swing. He will have short slumps. Big power guy. Long swings go through the longer slumps. Guys with simple swings don't have that issue as much. And he thought it was awesome to see Jeff Kent obviously enjoying that moment.
Yeah, he was raising his arms in triumph, and I don't blame him. Hell, I wanted to Joe run over there and high five him. I didn't, but I wanted to. Good job
Callie,
producing that young man.
Callie, let's get another text message in, can we?
Yes. Magnolia Aggie says the turning point for me was when the Ducks had the bases loaded with no outs and the Aggies got out of it with no runs, which is true. Yeah, I think a lot of people are overlooking that moment. But
that's true. That's very poignant to point that out. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that was a big one. And I mean, I know it was the bottom of the fourth, and it took us a little bit to finally get back on the board in the seventh, but definitely a momentum shift in our direction, which was. I was nervous that inning. I'll say it. We were down and they had the bases loaded, and I was like, we just got to get out of it with only one or two, and they did it with none. So that was awesome.
That's true. Good, great text right there.
Bruce sends in, hey, Nuño, incredible weekend for the Ags. Thoughts and prayers to Braden and Shane. Can't wait for Omaha, but I'd love an update on how your soccer weekend went. No, you're not going to get the. It was a good weekend, but this is all about. It's all about the A&M baseball team. By the way. I was not there, obviously, but it seemed like a pretty cool crowd there at the Mexico-Brazil game there at Kyle Field. So that was
85,000.
How many?
85,000.
Good crowd. Good crowd.
My wife and niece went, and they loved it.
They had a good time?
They loved it.
Awesome. Now, hopefully we'll get some more of those. Let's hit a break here. Right now we're talking Rollo Insurance. The difference is real with Rollo Insurance. When I say the difference is real, you just feel the difference when you work with them because they're going to work for you. They're going to find you the right insurance situation that fits your family, your needs. As I've told you guys many times, my boys are about to start driving, and I'm already, stressing about the cost of insurance. They've already started doing the research for me. They're going to put me in the best possible position and the best pricing and the most coverage that I can get for my boys, right? That's part of what they do. They're going to find you the right situation. And the beauty of them is they're local. They're right here in College Station off of Highway 6. You can see them everywhere. The grocery store, Aggie sporting events, you name it. They're all over the place. You'll find Jackson and Jason all over town. You'll find them all. Keith is there. Morgan's there. They're all fantastic to work with, and they will put you in the right situation out there. They've got 53 offices in the state of Texas, but you can find them all over the place. You got Utah, you name it. They're all over the place. The number is 888-44-ROLLO or go to rolloinsurance.com. That is 888-44-ROLLO or go to rolloinsurance.com. All right, welcome back in to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. I do want to read this one from Joe and Brian. And OB, I disagree with him, but I would like to get your take on it. Guys, that coach didn't manage the game wrong. That was their best reliever. They just ran out of gas. And this is where I disagree with it, OB. Ryan Brauninger is A&M's best starter, right? And sometimes when they don't have it, if you're winning or have a chance to win and things are going south, you've got to eject and find a different answer, because that answer was not it, clearly, by what happened afterwards.
Yeah, I agree with what you were saying. Look, it doesn't matter if he's your best guy. I said that there was no room for compassion in the seventh inning. Well, not from the A&M standpoint, but the Oregon coach should have been, look, I got to take him out just for his own good, because he can't find the plate. And what difference does it make if he's your best guy if he can't find the plate? Your worst guy wasn't going to be worse because he could not get the ball over the plate. So I'm glad that the coach left him in there, because it helped A&M win. But in retrospect, I bet you there are people at Oregon that are saying, why did they leave him in? They're not mad at the player. They're mad at the coach, I would suspect. And rightly so. If he he pitched pretty well for him for a while, but he was up in the 60s.
But OB, A&M is wounded. You have a chance to win that game, right? This is the last game, though.
Right.
You lose, you're eliminated. That's it. It's not like that's game one of the series. Game one of the series, maybe you're like, all right, we just gotta try tomorrow.
Got to save arms.
You're out.
Right.
And he, by the way, I'm glad he did too. So happy. But he left himself up to be second guessed for the rest of his career by what happened last night. And that's going to follow him forever, as long as he's at Oregon, wherever he goes. Can he get over it? Of course he can. But you don't leave a young man, I don't know how old he is, out there to die on a hill. And that's exactly what happened. He became the sacrificial lamb. And they could have made a change, and it may have been the same outcome, but that was not it.
I agree. How many walks does he have to have in one inning before the coach says, okay, he's struggling too much. I gotta go get him out of there, because, again, for his own well-being. But again, I'm glad he didn't. I wanted my team to win. I don't care how it happens, as long as they win. Yeah. And if it means a coach made a bad move and a player was left to hang out to dry, yeah, better luck next time. But my team's going to Omaha, and your team isn't. And you know what? That said, we're talking about the compassion part. I remember being in Oxford when Kyle Allen had a bad shoulder, and they put him out there anyway, and he couldn't throw the ball 10 yards, and nobody from Ole Miss felt bad about him, right? So it's not just me. That's how everybody feels about, when your team you got a chance to win a game, you take advantage of every edge you can, and if it means somebody struggles and looks bad, so be it.
Yeah. By the way, Madden in Houston sends in something that I agree with wholeheartedly, especially from the first sentence. He goes, best guy is fine, but not having anyone warming up that entire sequence of events is crazy. Yeah, you at least got to get somebody ready. Like, let's see if we can get another bat out of this guy. Let's see where we get. And no, they didn't have anybody warming up.
And if they pull it out, what if they could have gotten out of that inning without giving up the lead, or at least tied, But
by the way, I like this one right here.
Okay.
Aaron from College Station. Do we want or snatch anyone of the Oregon players in the offseason? Olsen was big time last night. By the way, let's not forget our biggest transfer maybe in A&M baseball history. Probably is, right? Braden Montgomery was a guy that we faced last year in the Super Regional, in the Regional. So that just kind of tells you they're out there, guys. And I don't care where they come from. If they can pitch, if they can hit for this team, Schloss will find them.
Who wouldn't want to play in that atmosphere before those fans?
Everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone, buddy. And by the way, we're probably, I don't know about probably, but we might get 5 teams from the SEC in the College World Series. OB, thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Be safe.
When we come Thank you, sir. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, Ryan Brauninger, maybe someone else. We'll get into that next on TexAgs Radio. All right, welcome back into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. I'm in Orlando, Florida. We go back to College Station, where Ryan Brauninger is there at the Rollo Insurance Studio of College Station. Bronny, there's so many different layers I want to get into. OB and I were talking more from an emotional standpoint and where it ranks in A&M athletics history, and I certainly want your takes on all that. But I just think from a pure baseball perspective, I'd love to get your thoughts on the buttons that Schloss continues to push, and really his entire staff, from Michael Early to Nolan Kane to obviously Max Wiener and the whole gang, how they put things together, how they orchestrate the things to play out a certain way. Just kind of talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, I think to start that conversation, you need to look at roster management and talent accumulation. And how many times have we said on this program and talked about the importance of that, and not just college baseball, but college sports in general, or you better have a coach or coaches on your staff that are elite at getting really talented players through the door. Now, it's up to you to develop them, to turn them into culture people, to make them believe in the vision for your program, all of that stuff. But we said at the onset of this season, and I talked to Major League scouts. I sat at Bluebell Park in early February when the Aggies were going through some inter-squad scrimmages. I talked to 2 big league area scouts that said that they had just been to Fort Worth, Fayetteville, Baton Rouge, and Austin. And they compared the A&M roster to those programs in those cities. And they said A&M has professional players sitting on the bench. The depth of what A&M has got is different than all those other teams. And those are the top programs, not only in the region, but some of the top programs in the country. And A&M was deeper, more physical, had more talent. And what they said in those preseason inter-squads, we saw on full display this weekend. I mean, Ryan Prager throws 35-ish pitches and gets, just so atypical of a start from him at home. We have not seen that out of him at home. Shane Sadeo throws 11 pitches, and they win both games of a super regional. And then, obviously, Caden Kent, when you talk about professional players sitting on the bench, he was one of them. And I'm sure that this season, in Caden Kent's mind, when he entered it, this hasn't played out exactly how he thought, right? He thought he's probably going to get more consistent innings, more consistent at-bats, be an everyday player in the starting 9. That has happened for him in spurts, but it's not happened over the course and duration of the season. And for your All-American and first-round pick, Braden Montgomery, to break his leg, and then you insert the guy that thought he was going to have more at-bats and could have been disgruntled the entire time when he wasn't getting consistent playing time, he's the one that steps up with the biggest swing of the year. Like, that speaks to a lot of different areas of this program. But first off, it speaks to Caden Kent as a human being, as a teammate, as a player. But it also speaks to the depth of this roster. And now you're getting into some really tight spots. You don't really have a 4th outfielder now with Hayden Schott's injury. You can't play him in the outfield. So it makes your position player roster, a lot tighter. But there are still kids that are sitting on the bench that could come in and have a moment. I don't know that they'll have one like Caden Kent had, but they could come out and come off the bench and have a moment in Omaha that would only further speak to the depth of this team. And I'm glad that, we got to see it all unfold last night in front of a legendary crowd. The 12th man, David, played a massive role in that win last night. There's no understating that. It sounded like Kyle Field in there.
Well, I think the 12th man plays a part in helping cure hearts, right? Like those players that are dealing with so much, because there is a mental aspect of what they went through this weekend, right? Both starting pitchers going down or leaving the game early, losing 2 players that are key players to what you do. Obviously, Braden Montgomery offensively and Shane Sadeo has been so good for them on the mound. To be able to deal with that, I think that extra oomph, that 12th man is a legit thing when it comes to helping out in those tough moments. And then when you need them to help you get through the most tense moment of the game, they're there for you.
Yeah, and there was a noticeable sense of worry amongst the crowd in both nights, right? Like, after Braden rolls his ankle, obviously you're down in the opener to Oregon. Shane throws 11 pitches. I don't want to speculate on what's happening. I know they got some positive reports or some hopeful reports last night as he was going through the ligament test. I know the MRI will obviously be the determining factor on what his career at Texas A&M looks like going forward. But I know what that look, when a player and a pitcher looks the way Shane did coming off the mound, I know what that usually means. I'm hoping that I'm very wrong. But yeah, like it's just a massive gut punch, right? 2 days in a row. It's huge gut punches to the team, to the fan base, to the coaching staff. Like when you go into the weekend and those are two of the most unpredictable ways to start games that you could have ever imagined for this Texas A&M team. Ever. It's usually A&M the one that's jumping on the opposition early. Like, we've seen it so many times this year. And it was just like a mounting sense, or a mounting of what more could go wrong type of feeling. And it took them, I think, a couple of innings in both games to shake it off. And an underrated part of yesterday's win is Caden Wilson coming out of the bullpen, little used freshman, in a bases-loaded, no-out scenario, and he doesn't allow a run. A strikeout, then a ground ball double play. He did surrender a run in the next inning, but overall, I mean, what a huge performance for a kid that's got massive upside, huge potential in the program. You know, what could that do for his confidence? And all of a sudden, is he a new guy that can be relied upon in the bullpen? Now with Shane Sadeo down, you need another left-hander. Is Caden Wilson the guy that can carry that load in Omaha? You may have found that out last night because you were in an unenviable circumstance and he was having to go to the mound. Like, I said it, David, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but it's just the nature of baseball and the nature of a season. Somebody was going to step up. We didn't know who it was going to be. Somebody was going to come out of that bullpen and have to get outs in scenarios where you never thought they would be used. Caden Wilson was that guy last night. Somebody other than the typical starting nine was going to get a big hit. It was Caden Kent last night. So it's just if you're around baseball a lot, and especially over the course of a 60, 70-game season, you're going to see this kind of stuff happen. It's just we know too much about the game of baseball to ignore it. And if these type of things don't happen, it's almost an outlier. I mean, look at Florida's season, who A&M will face off against in Omaha on Saturday. Those guys were dead. I mean, They were biting their fingernails on Selection Monday. The performance they had in Hoover when they needed to win was like the most lackadaisical, lackluster team effort with their season seemingly on the line that I could have imagined. And I was talking to some Florida folks about that, and they were like, yeah, like, this ain't a good look. Like, they're playing for their postseason lives, and they go out and lay an egg in Hoover. They get in the tournament, and all it takes is for a little belief, and it happens. So,
Ronnie, let me jump in there because it looks like we do have Jim Schlossnagle on the hotline. We go straight to the hotline. We are joined by Jim Schlossnagle. Schloss, good morning, sir.
Good morning, guys.
So I'll just start things off with what an emotional weekend. Obviously, getting to the College World Series alone is emotional, but to all the ups and downs, just kind of reflect here a few hours after last night's dramatic win.
Well, I climbed my butt out of bed to. It was a long night of let's just say team function, but well, not team function, with staff function. Mr. Liucci leading the charge. Now, it was awesome. I mean, what an awesome night. I just heard the tail end of Brawny talking. The emotions, the swing of emotions, we played so poorly early, not throwing strikes, losing Shane, another emotional blow. Anytime you lose a big player, it hurts. Hopefully it's nothing career altering for him, but who knows? But 12th man obviously was to me the 12th. I mean, Caden Kent's swing. I think I heard you talking about Caden Wilson getting some big outs for us. Aschenbeck was Aschenbeck, but the crowd was really the story of the game in my mind, and it drastically affected Oregon. Anybody who says it didn't is just not paying attention. And everybody goes through something, like Brawny. I think I heard Brawny just say. And it's not always the 8 best teams that have the 8 greatest seasons that end up in Omaha. It's tournament baseball, and I really, really couldn't be more proud of a team to fight through what we did, and then obviously for Caden to. It's not that he got that hit; he deserved that hit. He earned the right to have that kind of success in that moment, and love him to death and couldn't be more proud of him.
Coach, as soon as the ball left the bat and goes out of the ballpark, my first thought was the game knows. And you said it in the post game. I think people don't understand what kind of player Caden Kent is just in general. And I know you said he'd be starting at a lot of places across the country, and you're right. But can you take us through what his days look like at the ballpark when people aren't around? There's not 8,000 people watching him hit a grand slam, because that is where that moment was born.
He just stays committed to a routine. He just prepares as if he's playing before the lineup's announced. He gets his ground balls at all. Shoot 4 spots now. He'll get him at third, short, second, and first. He prepares as if he's playing. And there was a while there where he was understandably, especially younger, where, he was upset. And I think he would say that he probably didn't like to be around me, and he wasn't that fun to coach. But I think there was a point in the year where, I think it was this year, where we just had a conversation about, dude, when the season's over, if this isn't where you want to be, we'll talk about it. Hopefully it's not, because he has such great value. And I can see him, as he gets better, if he evolves into an elite SEC player, I can see him playing here. And I said, let's just enjoy it for what it is. I mean, whether you believe it or not, I think the world of you. And I do believe you're going to have big moments here. And he finally kind of let I don't know who else is in his ear about playing time. And he kind of finally just let all that go and controlled what he can control. And it's turned out for him. And exactly what you said is, as soon as he released all that, whatever you would call jealousy or being upset about not playing, as soon as he released it, then everything became more enjoyable. And he's always been supportive of his teammates, and then the game knows. The game truly does know who treats the game the right way, and it's not a guarantee, but it does give you the best chance to be successful.
Coach, let's talk about some baseball stuff. So I thought, number one thing that you guys did a lot, it seems like during the week, was implement some pickoff moves. I know they didn't go your way, but what did you see out of Oregon on the defensive side where you thought you could have some success? So you did have some success, I guess, picking guys off as well. But then on the flip side, you had I thought some kind of inning-changing stolen base opportunities, and I thought y'all were really savvy on both ends of that spectrum.
Yeah, on the positive side, we had the pickoff in the first inning to where when Sadeo, the leadoff hitter, got on, so that saved us a run. I guess it was the top of the first inning. The one pitcher on their team you could run on was the lefty Grenzel, which is, he has a long leg time, but he had picked 72 times going into the year. So it's just a chess match. It's a gamble. You're picking a pitch to run on and hoping he doesn't pick over. And that worked out with 2 outs because Schott got the 2-out hit. The pick play to third base, that was a big out for us, I think, in the regional, right? Is that when we ran it and it got an out? We felt like Oregon was about to safety squeeze that run in, so we were trying to set up a play to maybe defend that. Gavin said he lost the ball in the crowd. I don't know. He should have caught the ball, but it's a high reward, high risk play anytime you're doing that. But we do practice it. We do practice it once a week. But that doesn't mean that the kids are going to be perfect. And then, if anybody's going to take the blame for the first and third rundown, you can only choose. We only have so many hours in a week to practice the things that are important. And when we pick the guy off with Teddy running with the ball, you can't run towards second base and think you're going to be able to stop and throw towards home, especially him. What he needed to do there, which we have talked about 1,000 times, is just do the rundown. I mean, Ali was closing in. If he just gives the ball up, what you do is you catch the ball, you look the guy back, and then you run the rundown, and Ali's got to come crashing, catch the ball, and tag the runner out before the runner at third base scores. But in the moment, he wasn't thinking that, so he stopped and tried to throw the guy out. But I do feel like we minimized damage. I think we had the one, I don't remember the line score, so much has happened since then. We didn't have a massive inning. Obviously, we didn't give up 9. But I thought that Caden got us out of that big inning. He gave away a free pass on, I think, a walk, and then he threw away a pickoff play. Those are things that just because you practice them, just because they are a part of you, and some of those things are very much a part of us, doesn't mean they're going to work out. I mean, it's imperfect people playing the game. But Zane Badmiev got the – how about that? Zane Badmiev being the winning pitcher in the Super Regional game. I don't think I saw somebody cry more than Zane Badmiev last night. What that guy's been through personally in his life, if people only knew. And then to transfer from Tarleton and be the winning pitcher in a Super Regional championship game to send your team to Omaha. So lots of storylines and just a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun.
Yeah, Coach. And again, I'm going to try to pick on your coaching brain. If you had about the 4th inning or 5th inning last night, when you start looking at and you're running more guys out of the bullpen, what would you have done today if you had to play? Who would have gotten the ball had you allowed yourself to think that far ahead?
Well, certainly Lampkin would have been the starting pitcher. I wouldn't have. I mean, you're definitely planning for the. Once you get down, you're definitely thinking, all right, how A, can we somewhat keep this close, and B, still use the fact that we won the first game to our advantage. So Lampkin would have started the game. Cortez said he felt great. He could have probably gotten us some outs. I think the fact that we just got Rudis in there and right back out, I think Rudis could have done that. I think Caden Wilson could have helped us in the short stint that he threw. And then, if we would have continued to lose, I wouldn't have used Oschenbeck, and probably would have been one of those where we went with Lampkin as long as we could, and then asked Oschenbeck to throw 60-some pitches. But actually, as soon as we got it to – and Josh Stewart. So as soon as we got it to 8-6, I think, 8-6 or 8-7. As soon as we got it to 8-6, I turned around and told Max, hey, Stewart's in the game. And then when we got it to 9-8, I said, screw it. We're going for this deal. Oschenbeck's in the game. And then Caden hit the grand slam, and that made it that much easier. And I don't know how much you guys have talked. I haven't been listening to you this morning, but I hope you've been talking about Hayden Schott. I mean, what he's done pretty much on one leg all weekend. You lose Montgomery, you lose Sadeo, and Schott's playing on one leg, and man, just kept getting hits, and that backside homer, that turned out to be pretty big in the 9th inning because you need every run.
Schloss, we appreciate your time, sir. Last night was phenomenal. It was great, and we can't wait to see what happens there in Omaha.
All right, man. Appreciate you guys very much. Look forward to seeing everybody there. Gig 'em.
Jim Schlossnagle there on the hotline. Bronny, what just awesome to hear from him. And
that
and
was awesome. I mean,
yeah.
I think the way he's felt is the way a lot of the 12th man feels this morning. It was such a celebratory end to, and we'll get into it on the other side of the break, like the perfect end to an incredible season at Bluebell Park. Like as memorable as you can have. And I didn't know that we'd see anything that topped 2022 in terms of the home slate, but we did. This season at home absolutely did.
All right, we'll have more Bronny here in the next segment. Plus, we'll talk to Kyle Peterson there at around 9:35 or so. You're listening to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. All right, guys, you want to enjoy summer. It's summertime. You want to be outdoors. After watching Aggie baseball, you want to go blow off some steam and have some fun, but you can't because you have joint pain. Well, don't let that stop you, folks. We want you to enjoy life, and you shouldn't have pain. It's joint pain in your knees, your shoulders, and your back out there. So you need to reach out to QC Kinetics. They are the ones to take care of you. Non-surgical joint pain relief is here, and they are the nation's leader in this regenerative medicine treatment. I'm talking about long-lasting pain relief with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. They use advanced treatments to harness your body's ability to restore and repair that damaged tissue. So you can swing a bat like a baseball player. You can walk, you can run, you can hike, you can play golf, you can move again pain-free. And they're under the leadership of former orthopedic surgeon Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, a true pioneer in regenerative medicine here in the United States. And they're right here in the Brazos Valley, so you need to call them up. Advanced protocols have enabled tens of thousands of patients to reclaim their mobility. So stop putting it off. Take action now and live your best life. The number is 979-452-6000. That's QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. That is 979-452-6000. All right, welcome back into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. I'm in Orlando, Florida. My sons, or my kids, I should say, finished the soccer tournament in Georgia. Stopping by to see some family before we head back to College Station. And the crew will be going to Omaha. Ryan Brauninger is in studio with us still here for the 9 o'clock hour. Bronny, man, like this story, this Aggie baseball story, the thing that I find so fascinating is that different people, and this is what you see in championship teams, find ways to be a part of the story, right? And you need each individual player to play a role in a pursuit of a championship. The Chris Cortezes of the world. Like we grow accustomed to seeing his greatness, right? But then there's others, Caden Kent, Caden Wilt. Like there's names that you pop up and you're going to be able to say, yeah, he was part of the journey of getting them to Omaha.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of the conversation, first of all, have we got any bumper music? Have we done Omaha by Counting Crows yet this morning?
I don't believe we have, but we will when KP joins us.
Yeah, we need to put that on the docket. But to your point, there has been so much talk about Gavin, Jace, and Braden, and rightly so. Like incredible, maybe the best trio we've ever seen or will see. I hope it's not that the best we'll ever see. I hope there are some trios that will rival this one, but it's probably the best in Aggie baseball history in terms of position players. But if you look at the moments, the magical moments of the year, it's not been with those guys at the plate. I know Braden had the grand slam against Georgia, but like game-ending magical moments at Olson. It was Jackson Appel's 3-homer day against UTSA with the walk-off, right? Teddy Burton has had a number of walk-offs this year, but the most notable one is the tapper that hits the base against Texas. Like, and then Hayden Schott has the walk-off win against Rhode Island. The first cameo of Olson Magic in this magical season was off the bat of Hayden Schott. And the guy that starts the Rattling Bog and has been such a character for this team, the last time that Rattling Bog has played at Olson Field for a home run is Hayden Schott's in a super regional win. Like, so as much as we talk about the big three, and again, deservedly so, the magical moments have been dispersed across the rest of the lineup throughout the course of this season. And it's, you know, it's what's made this, we ended last segment talking about the type of season this has been at home. Like I said last night in our rapid reaction, David, this program has changed. We talk so often about Texas A&M athletics, mostly football, being a sleeping giant, but baseball was the same way. And I'm not saying that 2 out of 3 years you should go to Omaha. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that this program and its prominence and the eyeballs that it's getting and the attention that it's garnering has changed. Would you agree?
1,000%.
Like, think about the number of posts on our message board and the traffic that we're generating off of baseball content now. I told Richard last night, when I go speak at events in Austin, College Station, Houston, the private messages I receive on the site, very little football and recruiting. And that's not a knock at what Mike Elko has done or what he's doing. Jason and I sat through an incredible camp yesterday, like incredible camp. Jason and Kay did a great job of covering that. We'll have content coming out from that. But everybody in town wants to talk to me about baseball. When I go to Gold's Gym, they talk to me about baseball. That's completely changed from 5-6 years ago when I was doing the same bit, right? I was covering the same beat. This program it's always been good, but we're starting to scratch that potential. The ceiling is a national championship, right? The ceiling is a national championship. But we're so much closer to that than we were a few years ago.
To follow up on what you're saying there, it's not just because they're going to the College World Series or this playoff time. That has been the case this entire season. No matter where I go, you know, like it's the conversation starter, not the closer. Oh yeah, the baseball team. No, it's now like I was at a party. I think I even talked about this on air about 6 weeks ago, and everybody who was an Aggie was coming up to me about Aggie baseball. And then people who weren't Aggies, like, dude, your baseball team is like, they're number 1 right now. They're number 2 right now. They're fantastic. That has been that way this entire year. And really since the day I took the job on July 6th of 2021, people were telling me, Schloss is going to build a winner. You were telling me, but outsiders. and it has just continued to build up that reputation of Aggie baseball.
Yeah, and the hires that he's made on the coaching staff, and look, some underrated ones that don't get talked about. There's a guy on staff named Will Fox who played for Schloss at TCU in a College World Series, and then transferred to McNeese to finish his career. And he's from Montgomery, and he winds up back at Texas A&M, kind of cutting his teeth after being a GA and assistant at McNeese. He comes back to Texas A&M, and he has played a vital role in their infield defense. Like, it's not talked about enough. Chuck Box and what he does to organize the days and organize, like, he is the liaison for the program for any, like, reps that come in or anybody that's wanting to tour the facility. It all goes through Chuck Box. Jason Hutchins has been here forever. He's seen – I would actually like to ask Hutch this week, like, you've seen everything at Olsen Field. How does last night compare to that? Josh Kiesel was a guy as a strength and conditioning coach that had no experience in college baseball. It's like running his own strength and conditioning program. He had an incredible facility that he had built in Kansas City, and had really made a name for himself amongst pro guys, college guys that were coming to train with him from across the country. And Jim Schlossnagle took a chance on him. And how, like, this season has taken a physical toll on these kids, and they just keep moving through it. So, like, all of this stuff, like, it's a conglomeration of everybody working together on this thing. And right now it appears that there's a very good synergy amongst that entire group.
Let's do this. Let's hit a break because Kyle Peterson is set to join us here from ESPN momentarily. So we'll do that. Bryan will stick around for that. Right now we're talking Heritage Films. That's Chance McClain's company. They do documentary films about families. If you have not considered doing one for your family, and you may be thinking, why would I want to do that? Well, it is a moment that you get to be a part of and then share for history, right? Like, it's telling your family story, that being your family business, your family ranch, or just, somebody in your family that you want to tell their story. We did one on my father. You can do one on your dad, your grandmother, your grandfather, whomever it may be, but it is an awesome way to tell your family story, so you no longer have to play the game of telephone to pass on stories. I would tell my kids stuff that I remember from my dad telling me, and then they'll tell their kids, and the story's not the same. How about having video evidence of the story from the source of the story, right? You can do that with a Heritage Film, a 2-hour documentary that Chance McClain has put together for you. It takes about 2 months to finish the process, right? But he'll come to your house, he'll light it, he'll do the video, and he'll get it edited for you in 2 months, and you will love it. You can also do a Yearflix 20-minute option of that, and it's more of a Q&A for the kids, a benchmark video. Find out what they're into now and what they want to get into in the future. It's just a cool thing. You can do a benchmark video now, follow up in a couple years. The website is yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com. The phone number, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Still working on getting Kyle Peterson on the program. Ronnie, I got a text earlier about the whole seventh inning that kind of got my mind going. It was saying that Oregon didn't have any options, that was their best guy at the time, and that's why they kept him. But I still think you cannot leave a guy in that situation for that long. You just cannot do that.
Yeah, and they didn't have anybody warming up, and that was even the bigger head scratcher for me. And look, I don't know. I don't know their staff. I don't know their players. I don't know what the dugout dynamic is like, the clubhouse dynamic, none of that. So all I can do is base my analysis off what my eyes saw. And my eyes saw a kid completely melting down. The emotions of the moment, the stage, the atmosphere overwhelmed the kid. And it got to the point where even if you think he's your best guy, which, by the way, they didn't throw the Mullen kid who had 26 appearances with a sub-2 ERA. Was he injured? Why wasn't he in the game? If he's injured, obviously that's the reason. But if he wasn't, to me, that would seem like your best option once things started snowballing on you. But even still, like, you had to look at that kid and go, this ain't right. Like, whether he's been my most trusted guy or not, on this night, he's not right. The look on his face isn't right. What we're seeing is atypical and abnormal from him, much like we saw from Ryan Prager. And Jim Schlossnagle said, okay, at 35 pitches, he's done. Like, this isn't what we've seen from him. We got to get him out of the game. The Oregon coaching staff was the exact opposite. And I was to the point where I'm like, I don't care who comes out of the bullpen. I don't care if it's the guy with your worst ERA, best ERA. I don't care if it's David Nuño trotting out of that bullpen. Like, somebody else is going to give you a better chance to get out of this. And he didn't budge on it. So I mentioned it last night in my reaction with Richard. I don't know what kind of fan base Oregon has for baseball. I know it's improved because of how much their program has grown and back-to-back trips to the Super Regional. But could you imagine that happening at Arkansas or LSU or Mississippi State or Ole Miss? Like, that fan base would be up in arms. I don't want to throw Coach Waz under the bus because I don't know. Like, I don't know what the dynamic is. But it's more than head scratching to me while they just kind of let that kid rot out there.
Hey, let's go to the hotline. Kyle Peterson from ESPN is joining us here on TexAgs Radio. Kyle, good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Hey, so let's get right into it. What did you think of that magic last night at Olson, a team that, a couple days in a row, losing some key players? Brady Montgomery's injury, obviously very, very difficult to watch happen in real time and seeing the players react to that. But then finding a way to not only win that game, but yesterday down big and finding another way to score 9 runs in that 7th inning.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they had a lot of help. And I think sometimes when you put an inning like that together, generally it's not going to be because you get, 10 hits or something crazy. Usually you need help, and they got a lot of help. And I think the help was the environment that has over time gotten better and better and better at that ballpark, and it's not an easy place to play. And when people are going nuts, it's interesting sometimes, I think, what goes through your mind on the mound or wherever you are. And some are built for it and they love it, and that's the environment they want to be in. And quite honestly, some aren't. And those that aren't, it can have a huge effect on. And I think it had a huge effect. And then, Ken hits the grand slam, and that changes everything. But the reality is, up to that point, like, they didn't have to swing for a lot of it. You just kind of sit and let the environment take place, and that's a good thing. You still have to not swing. But it was pretty crazy to watch unfold in real time. I know that.
Kyle, Evan Oschenbeck is a guy that we know when he comes in, he's going to slam the door down. How integral has he been in your view, and what his future looks like at the next level?
Next level, I'm not sure. I mean, I think he's, and this is just the reality of pro ball, like the way that the scouts look at guys that they're going to draft. And it's a lot easier to take a chance on guys that have a ton of stuff. Because if they don't work, it's a lot easier to go back and say, well, hold it. I gave you a guy that throws 98, like Cortez. Like Cortez is a really easy guy to take a chance on, right? I mean, you see him, and the stuff is like, yeah, that should play at any level. I mean, if you put Chris Cortez in a big league bullpen right now, nobody would blink. Ashibak's a little bit different. Where the high-end stuff isn't quite where you would look at it and say, yes, this is the guy that we're going to take a chance on, but yet the results are as good as anybody in the country. But it's also harder for a scout to take a chance on a guy like that. Because if you're wrong on that, your scouting director comes back and he's like, well, hold it. Like the stuff doesn't necessarily play. No, it doesn't, but the outcome plays. So it's a long way of saying that I think somebody's going to take a chance on him, and they damn sure should. But he's also going to have to really prove himself at every level. When it comes to college, I mean, give me 5 of them. Like, give me the guy that you can hand the ball and tell everybody else in the bullpen, just take your spikes off, we're good. Y'all just hang out. He's going to take us home, and then we can all run out of the field. And most places don't have that guy. They've got him. And you know how it translates? It's going to take time to figure out how it translates, but I know it translates pretty well now.
KP, we have done so much roster analysis over the course of this year and even in the build-up to the season. And I want to get your take in this new age of college baseball. Like, I think there is a delicate balance that you have to get right. Number one, you have to have talented players. You've got to get talented players through your door. But now, even more so than ever, I think there is a massive value in having some old players in the key parts of your lineup. And A&M's got it in the middle with the 4-5-6. Hayden Schott was incredible this weekend. Appel's been awesome all season. Burton's had some big swings. And then you mentioned Evan Aschenbeck. Like, when you look at college baseball right now, and if you were constructing a roster, is that kind of how you would do it? Get the most talented youngsters I can out of high school and then fill my needs with some old heads that have been through it?
Yeah, I especially with the portal, right? I mean, you can go get guys that have experience, not necessarily in the league. I mean, it happens, but it's a rarity, but at least have experience at the high Division I level. And I think you got a much better chance to figure out whether or not you're going to be right. Now, you know, it makes for a lot of turnover, because most of the time when you get those guys, at most you're going to get them for 2 years, and sometimes you're going to get them for 1, but it's the best return. At the same time, and I've talked to a lot of coaches about this, like you still got to develop your own guys too. I mean, it's kind of 2 different recruiting characteristics. Give me the plug-in guy. Give me the one that, hey, we need this, or even if we don't need it, like he's good enough and I know he's going to help us. And then give me the guy that I think over the next 3 years is really going to help us. And what they've done a really good job of is they have both. I mean, you got Grohovac and Laviolette that are guys that they brought in, and then you go get the best guys in the country that you can get. They're the Ivy League train that they've got going on has worked out pretty well, and it looks like it's going to work out pretty well again next year. But I think A&M has done as good a job as anybody in the country at balancing those 2 things. Balancing the high school kids that you know are going to develop. They may help us right away. Like Grohovac's a freak. I mean, most of the time you're not going to have a freshman that steps in and does what he does. And Laviolette was the same way last year. But still have a developmental component to the program and to the team, and then be able to go out and get the guys that you can get. The mix and match that they've done is done really well.
The road to Omaha is always paved with unpredictable moments. In your career as an analyst and as a player, have you ever tried to figure out a way to identify who and which team is going to have that? Because I don't know that you can identify it. It's just so random. And Caden Kent was a guy that didn't win a starting spot to start the season, then lost his starting spot as he got to play, and then now he'll be remembered forever at Texas A&M for what he did last night. Like, there's these stories across the country, and you're good luck trying to pick out who it's going to be, right?
Yeah, no, I don't know that there's any way to figure out who, either what team it's going to be or what human it's going to be. But I do know the one absolute is the teams that make a run, they're going to have whoever it is. I mean, look at Florida. Like Ashton Wilson going into the postseason, literally had 4 starts, and it was the last 4 games of the year. He went and started at Georgia. They had to win series. They win the series. He starts game 1 of the SEC tournament. They get beat. That's it. He's got 4 starts and like 26 at bats. And in the second game of the regional, he's hitting 3rd. And last night he had a huge night for Florida again that gets them to where they're at. Like I mean, if you'd have gone back 3 weeks and said, pick somebody on this roster that you ultimately think is going to be the reason that Florida makes a run, that ain't the dude. Like, he's 12th of the guys you're picking. I would assume Ken is similar to that. But you got to have them. There's hardly ever an exception to that, to where the teams that make a run have somebody that nobody talked about the whole year or got hurt or whatever it is. And for whatever reason, for a month, they play at a different level. And sometimes that keeps going. Like, sometimes they just didn't get the opportunity, or when they got it, they weren't very good, and they finally get the opportunity. But you need somebody, whoever it is, and hell, who knows? You may look up in 2 more weeks and Kent keeps doing what he's done. If you're going to win it, you're going to need somebody like that.
That is Kyle Peterson here on TexAgs Radio. Kyle, thanks for making some time, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, y'all. See you.
See ya. KP. Bronny, great stuff as always, man. And when do you guys head out for Omaha? Have you figured that out?
No idea. That's up to the small bearded one upstairs. He's trying to figure that out.
He's working that out. All right, Bronny, thank you very much. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back with Around Aggieland. Right now, though, Milliken Reserve Time, Farm to Table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. And they've done that by dedicating their lives to that conservation of a healthy community. You go there, you enjoy the outdoors, you enjoy family time, you connect with each other. 2,600 acres of open space, farms and trails out there. They want to connect families to nature and to each other. They've got a variety of native species that find their homes right there in those preserved woods, ponds, and creeks. They got the white-tailed deer, the songbirds, the rabbits, the turtles, you name it. You can find it there at Milliken Reserve. And homeowners at Milliken Reserve share in a legacy of conservation, which means generation after generation, you come back to that pristine countryside place. The website is millikenreserve.com. That is millikenreserve.com. All right, welcome back into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio here in Orlando, Florida, because I've got some family stuff going on. Let's do Around Aggieland, presented by Normandy State Bank. Normandy State Bank, rock solid banking. The website is normandystatebank.com. And with that, we go to Kay Naegeli. Kay, you know who I was texting with during the game last night, right?
Who were you texting with? Inform me.
If you were to guess, who would you guess?
My dad?
Maybe 100 times, a couple times.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lord.
Going back. Sorry.
Y'all are just buddies now. I can't. He's trying to become, and I work with some pretty cool people, but he's trying.
He's the cool one. That's the part you're not realizing. I'm like wanting to be his friend. Like, I feel like I'm bugging him.
Steve Naegeli is very happy right now because he did, in fact, buy a hotel room before the season even started in Omaha. He has had this booked. He was confident, and he is a happy man right now because he will be going up to Omaha this weekend. So, and my poor mother has to be dragged along for a lot of baseball, but she'll enjoy it.
You will absolutely enjoy it. I know we only got a little bit of time. Let's do Around Aggieland, shall we?
Let's get to it. So we've talked so much about it, but how can you not talk about it a little more? No deficit is too large for this Fighting Texas Aggie baseball team, as they have a 9-run 7th inning to propel Texas A&M right into America's heartland. Caden Kent, what a night. Went 3 for 5 RBI with a huge grand slam and maybe a record-breaking noises at Olsen Field. And then Hayden shot for 4 for 4 RBI. Just a ridiculous weekend from him. The Aggies will face Florida on Saturday in the Men's College World Series. That will be an interesting one. And then additionally, some track and field. The men finished 5th and the women finished 10th. Tamara Chapman, heptathlon national champion, as well as the men's 4x4 relay team, won the national championship and broke a school record with a time of 2:58.37. Additionally, first team All-Americans, the women's 4x4, Abigail Martin, Lamara Diston, Kamar Farquharson, Sam Whitmarsh, Quallen Scott, and then second team All-American Janye Thomas. And also we had some soccer this weekend. Over 85,000 fans packed Kyle Field. That was awesome to see. So overall, just an amazing weekend in Aggieland.
Yeah, an amazing weekend. Thank you so much, Kay. When we come back here on TexAgs Radio, the Billy Liucci, who apparently led the charge last night for a fun night there in Aggieland. We'll talk to Billy about baseball, and more baseball after that. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can text us 979-693-1150. The big question of this show was, where does this rank in your Aggie baseball moments, or Aggie sports moments, I should say? That and more next on TexAgs Radio. All right, welcome back into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Here as we break down Aggie baseball. It's been a fun show. It's going to be a great week as we get closer to Omaha, as our staff heads out there to break it all down. We'll be talking about it all week long. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can do it multiple ways. You can call us up, 979-693-1150 is our phone number. You can text us at that number. You can try to reach out to us as well. We can try to talk to you. A couple things I wanted to, before Billy gets to the studio, I wanted to hit on. Look, championship caliber teams all have people who make appearances that you may not think of them in the Braden Montgomery way, or the Dirk Nowitzki way, or the Tim Duncan way, or the Jose Altuve way, right? Like, there are certain guys but championship teams all come with people who make appearances, and more than appearances, but who have impactful moments throughout. I'm gonna give you examples, right? That I haven't had that much championship success in Houston. That's just the truth about it. I've got a couple World Series rings, and not me personally, and a couple of Rockets championships that I was able to see. And even if we go through Aggie sports moments, like the teams that we've seen buzz create, those special moments, right? The team that we saw AC Law play a part of. There are several guys that have to contribute to make these special moments, to make it a memorable season. So obviously Caden Kent last night is going to live forever, but he's not the only one. When we think about these moments in history of sport, of teams that matter to us, right? For the Rockets, for example, Akeem Olajuwon was the guy that everybody talked about, but they don't win a championship without Mario Elie, without Robert Horry, without Kenny Smith, right? The Astros had their guys. The Dallas Mavericks in 2011, when they won, we all think about Dirk Nowitzki, Jay Kidd, and some of the dudes, right? But J.J. Barea was absolutely they don't win that NBA championship without J.J. Barea. The Aggie basketball team, the year that AC hit the big shot, Chris Walker was a huge part of that. Logan Lee, ladies and gentlemen. I guess my point is, to have a special championship type of season, you got to have moments of brilliance from throughout your roster. So yesterday, obviously, it was Caden Kent, right? Chris Cortez on Saturday afternoon. And there are Evan Oschenbeck all season long. And what you do when your backs are against the wall are exactly what this team's about. And when I say back, look, and I stressed it earlier on the show, this team is not an underdog. But they have become an underdog because of losing the guys that they've lost. It's the SEC, and you're going to have 4 or 5 teams in Omaha, so you basically have to play Hoover all over again, right? You're going to have to take on Florida. You're going to who knows who else is going to be in your way, right? Like, so you're an underdog because you lost, if not your best offensive player, your second best offensive player, right? There's that reason alone. So let's do this. It looks like Billy is actually going to join us here. Let's go to the hotline and are joined by Billy Liucci. Billy, I'm making the point that these special type of seasons that we've seen teams win championships or just have special runs are colored with the personalities that go beyond the superstar, right? The guys that you don't think about. And that's what we're seeing with this Aggie baseball team.
Which one?
Exactly.
You know, that's what's the beauty of it. And by the way, you can keep this segment nice and short. I know I texted you, but sometimes you don't read your phone during segments, unlike myself. But yeah, which player? You know, that's what's amazing. And last night, just a memory that'll last Caden Kent and his family a lifetime. It'll last his teammates. Just from talking to some of the guys last night, how much they love him, and just to be on the base pass in the dugout when someone hits a home run in that moment, like he did, and just the whole thing, everything about it, and just to be one of those guys on that coaching staff and watch your team fight back, and to just be in that stadium. It's a moment for him and his teammates first and foremost, but it'll go down, I think, in Aggie sports history as a top 10 type of all-time moment, maybe certainly as good an inning as probably anyone's had in Maroon and White. When you think about 2 hits in an inning and that inning and what was at stake, and then how he capped it off, and one of the better at bats you'll see. I mean, it was, and it wasn't just, a day earlier, it was Chris Cortez, one of the star players. But remember, a year ago, he probably didn't consider himself a star, struggling with control. And he's one of the best relief pitchers in the country right now. No question about it. And then it's up and down. How about a pitcher coming in when it comes to the point of really having to worry about what you're going to do, right? And Caden Wilson, you're almost having to worry about save pitching for tomorrow while still trying to win this. You were almost there. He wasn't one of those type guys, but you were almost getting there. Bases loaded, nobody out, to pitch his way out of that one. That was incredible, and that was before the comeback. I mean, none of that stuff happens if he doesn't get out of that inning, I believe. So, yeah, you're getting it from all over. Or how about, yes, Braden Montgomery is the most high-profile transfer in the country. And how many moments did he provide for A&M baseball this season? How many unforgettable moments throughout the year? What kind of season he had? One of the best ever in Maroon and White. We'll also never forget the injury at home plate because everyone's heart went out. Braden, his teammates, his family. We'll also never forget his teammates helping him onto the field following that game so he could celebrate with them. And the guys coming over, or Ryan Targach, and the way he handled this season to become, I just love that story. I didn't see who it was, and so I feel bad saying this because I stayed at the stadium so late, and one of the players was just sitting I thought it was Targo. I'm not sure it was because I couldn't see the number. I was from another angle, but just sitting there, I'll find out who it was. I'm sure there's pictures of it because I saw a photographer taking pictures. But sitting in the outfield, everybody's gone. No one's left in the stadium but the cleanup crew, and he's just sitting on his butt in the outfield looking at the left field scoreboard, just right on the grass there. So, who wasn't? So Braden was this incredibly high-profile transfer. Last year it was Deans and Tommy Tanks. This year it was Braden Montgomery, at the very top of the list. But how about the transfers from a couple Ivy League schools in Penn and Columbia and what they've meant to this team this year, and then especially this weekend? And Hayden Schott bouncing back from a tough regional, hits a home run that finally in that final game and comes out of it, and then just playing hurt comes through yesterday with just a massive game. So, this is a team in every sense of the word. They got each other's backs. They're all the type friends that I see so many of these teams come and go, David. And these dudes are the ones that'll be friends because I know how this goes. They're going to be friends 20, 30 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 or 30 years. They're going to be in each other's weddings. This is a close-knit baseball team and a cool combination of having fun, but also having just that absolute dog in them, to win some of the battles they've had to win along the way.
Billy, I apologize for the technical difficulties. I know you wanted to do a short segment. Let's do that. We'll get you back in the studio here.
What were the technical difficulties?
I guess my Wi-Fi went out for a second.
Oh, God. How long?
I don't know, but I'm back. I hear you. You sound great. And I bet you even look better. I'll see you here in the studio in a minute.
Not today. Okay.
All right. Billy Liucci there. All right. We'll do this. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with a lot more of Billy Liucci here on TexAgs Radio. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. They got great deals, and you can find those deals on their website at CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. If you purchased a vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They are the absolute best when it comes to getting a vehicle. When it comes to buying a new car for a kid, it comes for, 16-year-old kid. If it comes for, upgrading because your family's getting bigger, if you're maybe, want to get a smaller car because your kids are moving off. There's so many different options, and Caldwell Country Chevrolet is going to help you throughout that entire process. A 15-minute drive, Bryan to Caldwell, short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on a lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Appreciate everybody listening in. 979-693-1150 is the number to reach out to the show. Billy, a text came in that made me chuckle a little bit. I think you'll appreciate this. So before you joined us, I was giving my thoughts on how championship teams are made of these guys or these players that you sometimes don't think of at first, right? And I mentioned the Rockets and Mario Elie being a huge part of them winning a championship, and kind of using that as an analogy for Aggie baseball. And Ray sends in, he goes, don't forget that the Rockets never won a championship because Michael Jordan wasn't playing. I remember Michael Jordan playing in 1995. I don't know about you, but I remember Jordan playing. I think he got eliminated by the Orlando Magic that year, if I remember correctly. Billy?
Yes. Would always love to have seen that those Rockets versus those Bulls. Now, I don't think the Rockets would have won 2. Maybe they could have won 1 though. I happen to think they could have. The Bulls were tested plenty of times in the Eastern Conference Finals or the finals during that run, to where a slightly better team than the ones they were playing could have beaten them, maybe. And those Rockets were certainly the best team that came out of the West during that Jordan run that spanned 8 years as far as championships go, with the 2-year break.
And let's obviously get back on track on baseball, but I also want to say that first, when the Rockets won their 2 championships, Dennis Rodman was not on that team. That was a different Bulls team. They had nobody to match up with Dream, and that's a fact. Now, you could say they had nobody to match up with MJ, which is also a fact, but Vernon Maxwell did give him the business several times. So I'll leave it at that. We'll move on.
Yeah,
Billy,
I felt like by your tone of
sorry.
voice, you might have gone on for an hour on that one, but we'll move on.
Hey, so one of the cool things about watching this team play is that the mental fortitude that they have, the things that they've had to fight from, right? I mean, I'm sorry, you're losing one of your best offensive players in front of you in the fashion that it happened, and seeing it happen, to be able to bounce back from that mentally, to be able to bounce back from both of your starting pitchers in a super regional, to get knocked out within 2 innings. All those storylines, yet this team stays steady, and they kind of have this playbook, right? Michael Early all season long has had them, you just relax, you take your pitches, and then the hits will come. And that's what we saw yesterday.
Yeah, they put so much pressure on Oregon through plate discipline, and then just let's call it, couldn't be more perfect timing on the mound. Like, it was about to be untenable, and then those relievers just locked it up. And it was like, had they not, but then the offense had to do what they had to do, or you never would have even thought about bringing Oshin back in. So it all had to, it had gotten to a point where everything from about the 5th inning on had to go perfectly. I guess they gave up, 2 runs from that point on, a solo home run when it was, even though none of us would feel that way, when it was kind of out of reach. But really one substantial run from that point on when they were ripped. I'm going to say this, and this is just me. And I don't think, whatever. I'm glad A&M won, so it's not crying foul. Nuño, there's somebody in your window. Look out. I was kidding. If they, to me, I look at Oregon and their entire season's body of work at the plate. We've got 60-something games of it. A&M on the mound, we've got 60-something games worth of evidence. They didn't hit the ball very well last weekend. It's not like they came in just riding this high and they're a different team. They're red hot now. They didn't hit very well, and A&M pitched pretty damn well. I'm not. That doesn't mean A&M can't have a bad couple days on the mound, but it was like that Oregon team looked like the 27 Yankees for a while. They were just ripping the cover off the ball. It felt like they knew every pitch, whether it was going to be fastball or breaking ball. And I'm just saying, that thing got shut off like a faucet after, I don't know if it was the 3rd inning or so. And it wasn't just one pitcher that they hit. It was every guy A&M brought out there. It was like BP and A&M's some good pitchers for the Aggies, obviously. And like I said, they didn't hit much of anything after that. And it just makes you wonder. Like, again, it's baseball. I'm not crying about sign stealing, but basically what I'm saying is you wonder what kind of adjustments were made on the A&M side to kind of thwart whatever was going on, or if they said to him, we're doing something here that they're picking up, whatever, however that works. But it was just such a dramatic turnaround for this baseball team. And if I told you, Nuño, Oregon gave up 10 runs in their regional last weekend total? And this team put up 25 in 2 games, and they hit 2 home runs total. In 18 innings of play, they hit 2 home runs. At home, Oregon probably hit, I don't know the number, I'd be willing to bet 8, 7, 8. They outslugged you, in terms of homers. And pretty remarkable that A&M still managed to put up 25 runs. And, oh, by the way, they played 17 of those 18 innings without Braden Montgomery. So just an all-around team effort. They did it by manufacturing runs. They did it by being aggressive on the base pass. They did it with plate discipline. And they did it smacking the ball around when you look at their 2-game hit total, too. They just didn't hit them out, but they had a lot of hits in 2 games against that Oregon pitching staff.
Billy, we've been at some magical moments, Caulfield, Olsen, Reed. We've been at some really cool events. Where does last night kind of, I don't know if rank's the right word, but where do you put it when thinking about these all-time great Aggie moments?
It's so hard because there's recency bias, right? It feels like my favorite. That inning of just walk, hit batter, and the pressure. No, you can't stop at 8-6. This would be a wasted inning. You can't stop at 8-7. Don't let them get out of this with the lead. We're still late in the game. It's 8-8. We need more. This team's been hitting for 2 days. We got to get more. And then in comes, Caden Kent, who's done a lot of nice things this year, but this was the moment where he steps to the plate essentially as the guy that came in for Braden Montgomery, right? Like, if you could pick anyone in college baseball you'd want up in that moment, you're thinking of guys named Montgomery, Caglione, Condon, and in steps Kent. And just an incredible at-bat. I think he might have been 2-2. I think he was down 1-2. Maybe he was up 2-1 and ended up 2-2. Fouled some pitches back. And I think they were up 9-8 at that point. But to hit that bomb and just take the freaking, blow the lid off of that place. I talked to a couple of the coaches that said that was as loud as any baseball stadium they've ever been in. And it was. I mean, it just doesn't. There's a limit to how loud, let's call it 10,000 people, whatever it was, can get. And whatever that limit is, that crowd reached it last night. It was pretty unforgettable. I don't know where it ranks. I mean, it's up there to me with, look at the crowd. Like, in terms of, I know Oregon isn't the defending national champion to Alabama, ranked number 1. I'd say Seth Small's walk-off field goal. And again, we're talking home crowds. That this is up there with AC Law's The Shot. Here's why, to me, this was such a big game and night for Aggie baseball. Somebody asked me, I think it was one of a couple of the players' parents last night, said, how does this one feel compared to 2 years ago? And there's a difference. Here's the difference for me. 2 years ago, I was just so happy for Slosh and the coaching staff and just for A&M, Aggie baseball finally, they get back, they win games up there. And by the way, there's a little something different when you clinch it in a day game, 4-3 day game against Louisville. It just hits differently. But the fact that you had to come from behind at night, but what I said was different because those were great dudes on that team. I think just knowing the families and the players and what they're getting to do now and what they got to experience last night and this weekend and again that game against Texas the weekend before and that adds it to me from a personal standpoint. But what changed it, in my opinion, for this year, what makes it so special is the weight of expectation. 2 years ago was like this magical ride and the Pringles, and it was unforgettable, but it like happened, and you're kind of like, oh my God, you don't want to pinch yourself. We're clinching Omaha in the first year under this head coach. This season right now, the weight of expectations, and I've been saying this for what, Nuño, like over a month. It just, every series, every weekend, every step closer they got, you just wanted it that much more because you knew what this team not making it to Omaha would feel like. If they lost a regional, if they lost a super at home, you knew how terrible you'd feel because you know what this team, you know they deserve to be there, you know they were good enough to be there, you know how bad they wanted it. And if they would have fallen short, I know me personally, I know Brawny, I know all Aggies would have been just devastated. And imagine what the players and coaches would have felt like. So to carry that weight on your shoulders down the stretch, I think it just makes it a little more special when it's mission accomplished.
Yeah, the mental fortitude that they've shown really this entire season. Billy, I don't mean to say that they are underdogs, but what they are going through, right? Like probably losing a starting pitcher, losing your most offensive player. It was already going to be very hard in Omaha. It's going to be harder. Yet why not believe in this team, right? They've proven it time and time again.
I'm with you. I'm like, before the series, I'm going, what offense is better than A&M's? Sure, Georgia can score runs and maybe Tennessee. But I'm like, who else? Like, Kentucky does things in different way. But A&M, like, if you list all the offenses, A&M's right there. Okay, but we're going to take away your best player, at the plate this season and one of the top 3 in the country. We're going to take him away. Oh, okay, well, we're still really good on offense and we'll prove it this week. Okay, well, you know what? Imagine Prager and Sadeo with their A games in Omaha, game 1, game 2. Yeah, okay, we could win it 10-4. We can win it 5-4. We can win a 4-3 game. Hell, we've shown we can win a 1-0 game with Prager on the hill against Arkansas. And then all of a sudden, end of the first inning, it's like the nightmare scenario where you see a pitcher basically have to call for a trainer with an arm issue. So devastating hit on the mound and at the plate. But if there's one team that I'm not going to underestimate, it's this one. And look, we saw Evansville take the favorite, Kentucky, to a game 3 in Knoxville. You think Evansville and anything about that team better than the one that's left for Texas A&M? And they believe they can still hit up and down the lineup. The bottom of the order really did a great job last night and showed it. They still work pitchers. That's a philosophy under Schloss and Early. And, man, this is not – I'm not taken away from what they're missing because it's devastating. But we're not talking about going through an entire season or an entire SEC schedule without those guys. So this is like you're in a regional. You're in a regional, 4-team regional. Let's just start there. How many regionals did the quote-unquote not best team win this year and every year? It happens it's very common to see the non-favorite win a regional. And let me tell you something, David. This Aggie team, as it is, would still not be your 4 seed in that regional. I mean, so, hell, the Aggies were playing a 3 last night, right? Like, if you want to say they're the 3rd best team on their side of the bracket without the pieces they have. And I would still argue that. Like, we don't know. We just saw a team, and I know Sadeo started, and I know Braden started the game, but they really played that series without Sadeo and Braden. And they scored 25 runs. And they didn't even have the power going. They hit 5 home runs against Louisiana, in that regional final and hit none for what, 16 innings this weekend, and still scored 25. So I hope teams overlook them without Braden and with some real pitching depth issues now, at least in terms of starting pitching. That pitching depth in general showed up last night too, because one team had it and one team didn't. And I'm assuming that's what led one team to refuse to take a pitcher out as he walked the entire world. I've never seen anything like that. 9 runs off 2 hits, and the same guy got both hits. That was remarkable. And damn near one pitcher the whole inning, which is insane.
Billy, a couple years ago when they hired Schloss, this is what we hoped, right? We envisioned this being a possibility. Now he's done it 2 out of the last 3 years, making it to the College World Series. And also, I think something that he doesn't get enough credit for, and I need to do a better job, is he's doing it with the evolution of college athletics happening, right? So he is learning on the fly, but he's got his system. He gets the young players. He develops those young players. We've seen it. He develops players. He also plays a role in getting guys from the portal. He has done it as college baseball is changing at a new stop and done exactly what we expected him to do, but it happening in real time just makes it even more special.
Yeah, look, he's one of the very best. I think he's as good as anybody coaching college baseball. Look, if I'd never met him and he was coaching at TCU, I'd be looking at his resume saying that. That was when he had 5 World Series, 4 in a row at TCU. Since then, he's gone 2 out of 3 years at A&M. His first 2 out of 3. And 1 year took him to the Final Four, essentially. And what they've done this year to go undefeated out of conference, to lose just 3 home games an entire season, plus regional, plus super. They're what? They're 10-0 at home now in the postseason under Slosh? 2 regionals and 2 supers? Or what are they? No, shoot. 3-3. Yeah, they're 10-0. 3-3-2-2. And just what he's done and these last 2 teams have done for Bluebell Park and the atmosphere there, which is unrivaled. I wish there was a better way. And, not attacking the people that, count tickets and stuff. I think it is something they should revisit after this season to say there was way more at that stadium last night. Just pack them in and put a number to it, because there were people just coming out of the rafters there outside the stadium and outfield. That was epic. That was as good as college baseball gets. It's only going to get better because they're going to do a stadium. They're going to start it. And I believe after this season, the way it went, I think it's just like you can't as fast tracked as you can fast track a project. Like, in other words, it's full systems go now, and there's a chance for this to be like a mecca. There really is, and I can't imagine what recruits and transfer portal kids are thinking right now when they're watching that place on TV and they start digging into the resume of these coaches like Slosh, like Nolan Kane, Early, Wiener, and they start digging in and seeing like what these guys bring to the table, and then going and talking to the current A&M players. Not just how much they believe in everything in this place, but how great they are together. And I would say go talk to, Braden Montgomery's parents, who left an incredible situation at Stanford and took a major, I know we take it for granted because he's so good. He's such a good player. But to leave what he left at Stanford, which was back-to-back World Series teams, by the way, and was very happy out there, and to pick A&M to come closer, to where he wanted to be. You talk about going all in and a leap of faith, and then it ends in the worst way imaginable, not for his career, but for his college career. That guy shouldn't have had his career end like that in college. He had a chance to be like the MVP in Omaha, the way he was starting to hit, the way he can hit. It still breaks my heart. Just I haven't got a chance to talk about it. I've never been more crushed, like crestfallen, watching an injury. And it made so this guy, Nuño, is such a teammate. He's a superstar player, and he's putting off surgery for 2 days. When normally you have that injury, they're probably taking you from the stadium to a hospital and operating on your leg. And let's get this going. You got the draft coming up, and faster you're better, the better. He didn't want to leave the dugout that day. Stayed the entire game with his team. Didn't want to go, and go have the surgery somewhere and be gone for game 2. And he stayed. And now he's going to go get it done as quickly as he can so he can get back in time for Omaha. That's your quote-unquote superstar. So when your superstar acts like that, and the guys that aren't as heralded, like Caden Kent, step in and hit just a piss missile grand slam in the most pressure-packed of moments, that's how you win. When guys that weren't sure if they were going to pitch get you out of bases loaded, no-out jams, and then other guys come in and chew up innings where you're not sure if they're just chewing up innings to save the pen or trying to win a damn ball game, and they do it. That's what makes teams special, man. It really does. And I think Aggies have a real appreciation for teams with the kind of grit that we've seen from A&M.
By the way, I said it earlier in the show, Billy. I don't know if you heard me. I don't know if emotional was the right word to use, but seeing him on the field afterwards, it just warmed my heart. How about that? It was and his smile, how much he genuinely was enjoying that moment, enjoying his teammates, and the way they were enjoying him. It was a very sweet moment in sports.
Well, and you think about guys like him and Hayden and Jackson and some of these pitchers, it's their first year here too. And this is at Teddy Burton. It's their first year here. They didn't come up playing with these guys through, Little League and travel and select ball. These are Gavin Grahovac, first year. So many of these guys, it's year 1 on campus, and it's such a tight-knit team. And it's give a lot of credit to the returnees in that locker room for not making it, competitive to a fault of the chemistry. B, give a lot of credit to the coaching staff because I do know they do this. Nuño, if I'm Nolan Cain, I don't go and just pick 9 guys in the portal and say, this is who I want. We're going to go try to get them. And then you're Mike Early and you pick a few guys and you're going to go try to get them. And Max wants pitchers and these guys, it's they're a team within a team where it's, if Nolan wants 9 guys, hey, Early, here are 9 guys I want. Tell me what you think. And if he goes, well, I don't like this about this guy, or I heard this about this player character-wise, and it's cross-checks and balance where they all trust and respect each other. So there's a lot that goes into deciding to add Hayden Schott or Teddy Burton or Jackson Appel or even Braden Montgomery for that matter. There's a lot that goes into that. And in terms of making sure that the team chemistry works. And that they fit their style of play, too, by the way.
Bill, let's do this. Let's hit a break. We'll come back with some more thoughts here. We'll get to some text messages as well. Right now, we're talking about Costa Vida. Holly sent me a message this morning, talked about how amazing it was last night at Olson. By the way, you could have gotten Costa Vida there at Olson Field, and they'll be back for more here in the future. They're also going to be at the All-American Club in Kyle during the George Strait concert this upcoming weekend. They'll have chili lime chicken, sweet pork nachos, chips, and queso. You certainly want to go check it out as you're enjoying the music out there. But how about going there to their South College Station location? A lot of people like to have morning meetings there. Get your coffee, your breakfast taco on, and just enjoy the day and have great food, fresh Mex done the exact right way with the right ingredients, right? But it's not just breakfast. You can go for lunch and dinner. I talk about it all the time. In fact, I was doing the show from my hotel room a couple of mornings back, and the twins were like, Dad, why'd you have to bring up Costa Vida? Now I got to have those quesadillas right now. We're not even close. Sorry, guys. You have to have it when you get back. But those of you listening in the Brazos Valley can go to Costa Vida right now in South College Station and get your Aggie food on right now. Costa Vida, Aggie owned and operated, 4501 Mills Park Circle in College Station. Again, that is 4501 Mills Park Circle in South College Station. It's Costa Vida. All right, we are back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio in Orlando, Florida. Appreciate everybody listening in. I got a couple things I wanted to get to. We got to get to some text messages here in a moment, but I did want to ask Billy about last night because, yes, there was the game, but then there was the after the game. How did you partake in the festivities last night, Billy?
I don't know. I mean, I've been up not very long. No, I just love seeing everybody fired up and happy.
Yeah.
And it down there on the field was awesome. Oh, by the way, shout out to all. Little did I know, Nuño, and I've found out in the last few weeks because I a lot of times I'll go, just congratulate the coaches. Go in there and holler at them. Hey, great job. After kind of at the end of a weekend series or the regional, and so then I'll go even listen to Slosh's post-game interview in that little room there where they normally do it and walk out where the players go. So you would laugh when I'd say, like, all these little kids that come up and, they're waiting for the players, and you would say, I've had even my next-door neighbor go, he's not a player, don't talk. But it's not that. We have a very young listening audience, Nuño, that I don't believe you're aware of. And so it really concerns me for today's youth that so many of them are listening to Olin from 8 to 9 every morning. Number one, I just was like, oh, my God, what? But shout out to all the under 10 listening set that we've got that I'm telling you, is a pretty big one. And yesterday I was, they were hanging over the dugout yelling, TexAgs or Billy, and I'm talking about really young, and it fires me up knowing we got some young Aggies that are still like literally going to be growing up on TexAgs, for better or worse. I don't know exactly how I feel about that, but I just wanted to shout out all that little gang that hangs out there, and they're waiting for the Bradens and the Jaces and their favorite players to, Grahovec, and they, but they also tune in every day, and also to the baseball families, the parents, the players that just, we provide a service for them because they get to hear people talk about their kids and their brothers and, their family members, but it's, that team and those parents and the coaching staff, they make it fun for us. It's really fun.
Yeah,
to
they
cover.
do. All right, and I do want to get back to baseball in the last segment, but before we hit a break, I saw that you actually got to enjoy Kyle Field on Saturday as well.
Oh, yeah. I was like, what did I do at Kyle Field? Because Howell and Bronny were crushing it in the camp coverage, but soccer was awesome. I mean, I've talked to everyone that's gone, everyone I talked to that went, whether it was Bowen Lofton or, Gary Blair, and people, my friends of all ages that went. I saw a few of the current football players were there. That was really cool. And I was sitting, Nuño, what was cool to me, and I think Hunter had the same. I was in a suite with my good friends. Shout out Kristen Distributing. But sitting up there with so a couple of them I knew, but a lot of them that one of my good friends, John, is friends with, going way back, like really close friends with. A bunch of his friends from Mexico that live in Mexico. And to sit there and watch that game in a suite with them and watch them hang on every minute of that match like it was A&M Texas, like we did at Bluebell a week ago, like we did last night. And to watch, I mean, the excitement when Mexico scored that goal in stoppage time, and they were way down on that team. They didn't think the team really had much of a chance, and and then Brazil brought in, who'd they bring in there towards the end, the superstar?
Vinny Jr. from Real Madrid.
And boy, what an athlete to watch. What an athlete to watch. And then when Brazil scored that goal to win it, like just to see the devastation. And again, this isn't even, that's not even, what does that game matter?
It doesn't. It's a friendly.
Yeah, and they were crushed. And I didn't want to see them like that, but they were crushed, and it was really fun. I mean, and credit everyone involved at A&M in putting that event on. When the worst thing that you saw out there was a bunch of fans running on the field, that was a highlight, like kind of nice entertainment breakup in the match. So everything about it was cool. It was unique. It was surreal watching soccer there, and you didn't even feel like you were at Kyle Field if it wasn't for the home of the 12th man sign, because all the signage, all the ribbon boards, the field looking like it did, the crowd in the colors they were in, you did not feel like you were at Kyle Field. You felt like you were transported, to like a World Cup match or something.
Billy, just before we hit a break, the kid who scored the game winner, his name is Endrick, also a Real Madrid player, 17 years old. Just a little FYI.
A little header, right?
He's the truth. All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back with one final segment, get back to baseball here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, time to end the day with Double Dave's. Caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave, who have been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza, world-famous pepperoni rolls, reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. And as a reminder, they are not open on Mondays. Let's go to the Angry Elephant. What?
Damn it. See, I did that with the kids listening. I shouldn't have said that. But kids, when you don't get pizza rolls on Monday, when you get your hopes up, you can say, damn it. That's acceptable.
Yeah. I mean, they're so good, you have to be angry on Mondays that you don't get it. That's fine. Hey, we got a lot of texters here in the last few minutes. Can we hear from them, Billy? Yes, David. Callie Gardner at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Callie?
Yeah, we actually had one.
Nice of you to join us this morning, Callie.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. They were talking about roster management and asking with the guys that are not seeing the field this year and being able to witness how Kent took advantage of his opportunity and potentially those players sticking around to play for the coaching staff. And just, I mean, you look at Wyatt Langford and Charlie Condon and those stories and how Caden Kent can kind of impact those players at A&M.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that, but there's also, that's an individual case-by-case basis. You know, it depends on your age. What does your path to playing time look like? Look, of course, take Caden Kent, for example. If Caden Kent knew, hey, I'm going to start all year next year and have a ton of moments like this, and, you know, every player has to evaluate, you know, okay, here's my situation. Here's what's in front of me. Here's what's coming in. Here's how confident I am how confident I am of the coach's confidence in me. You know, how much do I think they believe in me? How confident am I to compete with whatever they bring in? You know, so for some of these guys, it's still an unknown. There'll be certain guys that go, okay, that spot's mine. I know that. That's obvious. But some of them will look and it's not quite as obvious, but it's possible. But where are you at in your career that you're willing to roll the dice on a possible? I think it's very much like the quarterback position, except every position, because it's pretty, other than the outfield, it's pretty, you can kind of look at it and decipher what you think your chances are. So, but man, whoever they are, I'm glad they were a part of it and got to experience last night. And so many guys helped in the win, and they got more baseball to play. So who knows who the next hero will be.
Billy, I've seen some texts come in. People are scared of a hot Florida team. Yeah. And my response to that, everybody here is hot. That's how you get to Omaha. You better be hot. You better be playing some great baseball.
A&M just went 5-0 to cruise into Omaha. Not many teams did that. Yeah, Florida's white hot. They don't believe more than A&M believes. And they might have Caglione, and they've got some power hitters. They don't believe more than A&M believes, and I believe A&M in their minds might have a little unfinished business they feel like they want to tend to. They lost a series to them. They broke their season-starting winning streak. And this is a team that I think is going to find a way to rise to the occasion.
100% a phenomenal season that we get to keep talking about all week long and hopefully for a long time, Billy. Great stuff, man. Thanks for joining us today.
All right, buddy.
Thank you. All right, that's Billy Liucci finishing it off here on a Monday. Tomorrow on the program, we're working on Victor Rojas. See if we can get him on the program. He was on the call this weekend. We'll have Tom Hart on the program as well. And thank you so much for watching and listening this AM. We will see you all mañana.